All right, guys, Sam here back with you. Thursday, August 16th. We're kind of midday. Second up by request of our members is a look at Cardano, ADA to Bitcoin. So I've got an 8-hour chart up here on Bittrex. So equally complex in this correction. A lot of tricky pivots here. A lot of false breaks where it looked like we might be getting ready to turn. This one being the obvious one, is this really looked like we had a clean motive wave, but we've just that's been invalidated here as we took out these lows. So it's very tricky and complex correction here. As I'm counting it currently, again, I've got us in a WXYXZ coming down here. I don't see another way to count this. So looking up here from our all-time high up here, January 4th, it looks like we come into an ABC to give us our W wave. Then here, this as far as I can count it and look at it and consider the alternates, this looks like this must be our X wave here. So this is somewhat technical. You'll note here. So if I'm down here to my if I come down to this pivot here, we come between the 50 and the 618, and we've come down here and blown through some targets. We don't have anything perfect. It actually gets better as we move lower. So if I allow for that WX, then coming down here, I do get this sort of odd-shaped A wave here. Here's the B, and then I've got this very clear 5 waves down. So I'm fairly confident in this AB finishing with a C to give me a Y here. So from that X, so if we go X to X, now here where this was disappointing because it certainly looked like we had a motive wave, we had an impulsive wave structure going up here, so you can see it. So it looked like we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get you down here. It looked like we had that going in, and just doesn't materialize. Market's not ready for it yet. So despite that good-looking impulsive wave structure here, we end up with just an X wave. So we have to pull that off, and so likely got to refit that to make it corrective. So we get from that Y wave here, so likely you've got an ABC into a B, so you get ABC into my X wave. So we'd have to do it this way. So we'd have an A, B, and then a short C for the X wave to give us that. Looks like that could make sense there. So we have an X wave here. So then if we go from X to X, so if I take my X wave here, this pivot to this pivot low, well, we get a slight front run on the 50. Looks like that could be in play. So note here, we've got an algo target down here, but we're getting really, really low down here. Interestingly, it is the point of control in this as I've got it here on visible range. So are we going that low? Well, we can't ignore the target and the fact that we've got point of control down here. We can't ignore this. There's some signs here that we may not be headed that low. So let's go off that 8-hour here, and we'll look into this last move down here, see if we have any signs of bottoming. I don't think we're quite there yet. So let's see if I go to a 1 hour. Can I get it all in there? Let's see here. Yeah, I think we can do that. No, I guess maybe not. So hang on, if I can scrunch up that much. I guess not. So let's see. Let's go to a 2 hour, see if I can get it there. Yeah, that'll do it. Yes. Okay, so here's our X wave here. So here's the candidate for, so we'd have to count this as our A, B, C into our B wave, and then up we go and finish with a C wave here with this, looks like that very well could be a front run on the 50. It's hard to say. But then here's where it gets a little tricky. So we come down, we get this very extended 1 wave here. This is the only retracement we get. So likely this is our 1. We get a 2 here, and then it looks like we're now finishing with a diagonal. So from that here, so likely you'd have to do it this way. So some sort of an A, a B, and a C comes down here to give us our 3-wave structure that we're looking for in a diagonal. So that would give us our 1 wave, and then we get some sort of ABC into our 2, and then yet again, so very clear here, ABC into our candidate for a 3rd, ABC into our 4th. Now here, so overlapping the 1 here pretty substantially. And then it looks like the A is in. We've just done a little 3-wave for the B, and we're in the process of looking for that C down here. So just looking at a few things of note. So if we just work from our 2 to our 3 and check what we have here. So this is right to the 6-1. So note here. So here's algo play. Here it is, right? Boom, just damn near tick to tick. So they come a couple of ticks shy of the 618 and they go straight to target and they get it to the damn near to the tick. So here, so clear algo play. We get a little three-way, but then we've got more to go. So it looks to me like we want to check a couple of things. So additionally, in a diagonal, we want to look for a technical pivot here on the 4, looking for a relationship between the 3 and the 4. So let's look here now. We got to pay attention here to one additional factor. So that's kind of interesting. So if we take from the start of the 1 wave through the proposed 3, well, we're kind of in between here for the 4, but the ABC is the tell here. Now I've got this channel on it here, and you note here we've just come to the lower bounds of this channel as we come a couple of ticks shy of the algo target. So maybe it still looks to me like there's another push down here. So this could be that we're just finishing. Now, one thing we got to watch out for here. We don't want the 3rd to be our shortest, so if we measure here, this is potentially problematic here. So if we take the length of the 3rd projected from the 4th, well, see, now we got a problem. So we got to relabel here. So you see what's happened here. We now have this. If this was our 5th wave here, it's longer than the 3rd. We know the 1st is longer. So here's an adjustment on the fly. So at first glance, that looks like you might have it. So if that can't be, so think of it this way. If this can't be the 3, so we got to move it. So everything has to move down. All right, so let's do that. So this potentially now has to move. So what does that allow for? So it would mean that we'd likely have to push the 3. Well, we could push it here. So 1, 2. So we'd have to have it this way. So we'd have to relabel this. So we'd end up with this. So we'd go here A, B, and then down for the C potentially. Now let me clean some of this up here. If this is going to be our 3, let's check it here. So we'd have to have A. And let me change that color. We'll go to blue here. So we'd have to have A, B. So we'd have A, B, C to give us our 3rd relative to our 1. All right, so let's think about that. So this would be 1, 2, A, B, C into my 3. Boy, that's a very shallow 4. So it's tricky. There's no question this is not an easy count to wrap around. So maybe very shallow 4, possible. Let's look at what that would mean for us. So if this is our 3 and we're going to the 4, well, we're not even to the 23.6. So it's definitely a difficult count to wrap around here. So we'd have no relationship from the 1 to the 4 as we're too shallow here. No question, this is a tricky count. So there's just no other way to get it. So we're running into this issue here where we can't have our 3rd be the shortest. So let's look at it this way. So if I take the length of the 1, project from the 2, what do we get over here? There's nothing much there. So again, if I look here for the A wave relative to the B, so this is the best indicator here. So this looks like that's a good pivot here because we're coming to the algo target to the tick. So I like this better as an A, B, C into my 3rd. Let's pull that off. So I like this now as the 3rd. This is, what do you do with it? So there it is. So it's very, very shallow, but it wouldn't be the craziest thing I'd ever seen. So 1, 2, 3 now, but the problem here is we're running into the ongoing problem. So if that's our 1, if it's going to be a diagonal, we need that to overlap. So we're kind of in a conundrum here. We can't make the diagonal work. We can't make an impulse work because of this 3-wave structure. So we're kind of left with alternates. So just again, here I'm doing it on the fly. So what does that leave? So if this is going to be our 1 wave, all right. So let's rethink it. So potentially, if that's my 1 wave and this is my 2, boy, there's no clean, easy other way to count this. I can't get 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't. So we'd have the same problem here. If we tried to go 1, 2, 3, 4, allowing for the diagonal, we'd have the same problem here. If this was our 3rd, we'd have 3rd again would be the shortest wave. So we've got to keep this as an ABC. This is our first significant retracement here, and that also is shallow. So looking at that here, so also just barely making the 38. So again, we're in that low percentage. We're at 10% or less of wave twos are making a retracement that's shallow. But there it is. So if that's 2, boy, it's frustrating. You run into a rule that you can't work around. So that can't be the 3rd, as I just show you, because this now would be the longest. So boy, what does that leave? So it really leaves this 3. So the only play here that looks like, if we're going to keep consistent to this algo play, is that we'd have to have some sort of, boy, I like that 3. So this would have to still be going in. So we'd have to reshape this, right? Which I like that because that algo pivot, but it just doesn't play from an Elliott count perspective. So we'd have to look at this. So we'd have to have this working it this way. So we'd have to have A, B, and then more C still yet to come. So the third is not in yet. That's the only other way to play that. So let me take this down here to a lower, let's go back to yellow. Let's go down a degree, see if we can make this work. All right. So there we go. So we'd have 1, 2, and then we'd have A, B, and then still looking for A, B, C to finish all of this down here to give us our 3rd. So let's think about what that would mean. So if we went with a length of 1, projected from 2. All right, well, 100% is down here. So let's take this off just to open it up a little bit. So if that's 1, 2, and then I've got A, here, let's go up a degree. Let's go back to blue, and we'll go up. We'll go up to micro again. Okay, so 1, 2, A, B, C. So at some point you got to pay attention to where 0 is. So I'll often do this. We got to keep, you start projecting. You can't lose track of where 0 is, and I do not think so. We'll call that's roughly, we're right on 0 there, close enough. Okay, so where could this be going? Right? If 3 is not complete yet. Well, let's think about that. So if this is A, B, let's even just some common targets. So if we just take A to B and we look at where 100% is, that's putting us at 0. This is a tough one, guys. Definitely a tough one. So, immediately my first thought is, if I can't get a clean count on it, trying all of these alternates, of course, my first reaction is, well, no trade, right? So if you can't get clarity on what's in here, why are we forcing a trade? Now, we could probably back through this and come up with something else that would fit, but I just don't see it. So this, again, I know I'm supposed to be giving you counsel here, but I'm equally stumped here. So let's redo it here. So I'm just going to do this on the fly with you here. So let's rethink it. So what if this were A, B? So let's do it this way. So if this is A, let's rethink it. Okay. So let's go. If that's A and this is B, then what would that mean for this C? So if this is A, B, and then we're still going A, B, C. So could we be finishing? Where could we finish this C wave? So where's that C? Is down here. So let's go down here. Let's get that into a different color. Oh, let's go to Y, and let's go up. Let's go to subminuet. Let's go up one more. Okay, so let's rethink it. So if that's A, and this is a B, then I've got to get A, B, C yet still in here. All right, so let's pull that off. Let's pull this off. So if I could have A, so A, B, A, B, C. That's about the only thing left that I can see that will fit here. So there's the A, B. So this becomes A, B, C, A, B, C. And that's driving it lower yet again. So we'd take it this way. So from A to B. All right, so here's the good pivot that we like. So here's this one. So that would give us potentially now, here's our A, B, C into our second A wave. All right, so there's our A, B, C into our B wave here, and now we're in the process. Boy, it's equally problematic here because this certainly looks like it's an impulse. So look what we see coming down here. So we see 1, 2. It sure looks like that's 3, 4, 5 coming down here to finish. Tricky one, guys. Tricky. I can see why people wanted a review on that. I thought I had it until I double checked that pivot here. So that's what I think we've got here. So again, you know, if when in doubt, stay out is just a generally good rule to use. If you're just not clear about the count, you can't build a high probability zone. Why enter into something that's low probability? Because this count doesn't. There's just no good way to make this fit. So again, so what I would do here is, so I'm not in this coin. So I don't know that I'd be looking to be a buyer here. I'd be wanting to be looking for more evidence here that we've started to pivot here. So if I look from this pivot here, if we're going to go A, B, C, I suppose we can work it this way. So we could have A. So let's look about that, where that would put us here. So we're at 100% here. So the C wave. But again, as I dig into this, this does not look like it's done. So let's go down to a 30-minute here. All right, so you see here the conundrum here, where this looks like this. So we might, here, let's rethink this one. So this could be our one here. So we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but then we end up with this kind of ugly, that could be it right there. So we get an A, B, we get a shallow C wave on that. So if we're gonna, if that plays, so we could look at it this way. So we could have 1, 2, 3, 4. Do we overlap there? Yeah. Do we? Let's look at that. Yeah, we get a slight overlap there. So we get a leading diagonal into the 1 wave here. So there's a 5 wave. So that's potentially, let's take that up. And we'll go up a degree here. All right, so if that's 1, 2, then this looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to give us our 3. This looks like it's our 4 here. And then looking as we come down here, you know, this looks like 3, 4. So working backwards, let's go into this last move down here. Let's go, and we'll even go down to the 15-minute. All right, so where did we leave? So here's our 4 up here. You know, so it looks more like you've got 1, 2. Boy, that's got to be down here. So we've got to have the 3 here, the 4 here, and the 5 still yet to come. I don't love this. That's too deep. That's far enough up here to where that's much more likely to be a 2. So some sort of 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we get a leading diagonal here. So even down on this small degree, you'd have to get 5 in there. So you'd have to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know that's impossible to see. That's got to go all the way down to minuscule to get that. Okay, so we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It ain't pretty, but there it is. So that gives us a 1 wave. Man, come here. Fuck. Yeah, just leave it there. Okay, so 1, 2. Got to be the impulse here for the 3. Now, no threat of this turning into a diagonal, but we can measure this 2 down to the 3. Well, right to the 38, right to the Vegas wave. That is where you'd expect it, and you can see that we do get this little A, B, C in it, right there. So let's get that down. Go submicro there. Okay, so that looks like that's A, B, C into a 4. I don't love the 2, but yeah. So there it is. So it looks like we'd have. So that algo target is down here. So this looks like we'd finish down here. Now we're getting, boy, that's getting unbelievably low. Yeah, but that's what the count suggests. You know, here's 0 down here, so we've got the room for it. So this would finish us down here. This would finish this C wave down here. So this has to go up a degree. So let's go to minuet here, and we'll go to green. All right, so let's see if we can put that all back together. Let's go back to our 2 hour and look at that. All right, so could that play? So we'd have to have A, B, and finishing this C down here. No doubt that is a very difficult count to get your arms around here. So Well, there it is, me doing it on the fly, right? So I thought I actually had it, but I hadn't double checked that pivot there. So there's the adjustment on the fly in real time, and you can see how difficult this is. So it's just a process of qualifying, and if you're disqualified, well, you got to rethink it. Right? It doesn't make it any easier. It just means you got to rethink it and then work through it. So there it is in real time, as I would have done it typically prior to starting recording. So that's the best I can offer to you. I think we're reasonably close to a pivot down here. It certainly lines up as candidate down here for this to be a low. But so I certainly wouldn't be suggesting a buy here as a swing trader. That's not what I'd be looking for. Now, if you're a long-term player, we're getting to some pretty, so either these are going to be the buys of a lifetime, or we're going to zero. I don't think that's likely with Cardano, but anything's possible. So if we're approaching a low down here, my broader point is, I certainly wouldn't suggest trying to buy the falling knife. So I'd be waiting for, as I will often suggest, the first motive wave to take us off of that, and then we're looking for the 3. So you'd need to wait for this to show its hand. We'd need to see a good solid 1, 2. There's the trade. We try and catch the 3, 4, and the 5, and then we're off in a new trend. But a lot has to happen before this all completes. It's just a very difficult count. I guess that's too high. We'll take that down. All right, so that's about the best I can come up with there. Of course, the other alternative is just wait, let this thing pivot. We'll worry about getting the count after the fact. So we can wait. If we do get a 5-wave structure, well, then at least, right, we get a probability zone where we can make a trade on it. Remember, we've bumped into that before where we thought we had it here. All right, I think I remember trading this. It looked like we had a 1 wave here. We came down. It looks like there was a potential buy, and it just, the whole thing just rolled over, and we've gone on to put in new lows. So definitely a difficult one for me. I'll be waiting. I want a clean motive wave coming off of that, and then I'll buy the first 2. I'm long-term bull on this project. It's one of your top altcoins here, but it's just no signs of a low as we work through this count, as you can see it. All right, so that's what I'd suggest. Wait for 5, take the first 3, and then hopefully we're back off to at least challenge some of these prior pivots. All right, guys, tough one. I don't know if that helps you or hurts you to see me do it on the fly like that, but there it is. That's the work you got to put in, and the qualifying you've got to do to try and get a count that works, that sets up the next probability zone. All right, guys, give us a follow over on Twitter. We're very active with our followers over there. We run contests and promos. If there's a discount, that's where you'll hear about it. We've done some of that recently, and you can always learn more about our trading university over on our website. That's tradedevils.com. All right, guys, back.